Hello, everyone. I am SharonAnn Hamilton, and I teach Fast Start to Slow Travel, which is an adventure in living abroad, traveling and living abroad. And who is this for? If you are soon to retire, or a digital worker, or intend to create an online presence and income from that source, this is for you. You can remote work, you can live anywhere in the world once you learn how. So today with me, I have Lamia Walker, who's the founder of an organization called HouseSit Match. Lamia, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you, SharonAnn. So yes, my name is Lamia Walker. I run HouseSit Match. We are a house sitting and pet sitting platform. We're based in the UK, but we help facilitate travel, affordable travel by house sitting and pet sitting arrangements with members across the world. So if you are a lover of animals and pets and you're happy to exchange your time and services caring for someone else's cat or dog, wherever they may be, then we can help you find a location where you can stay for free and exchange your services. Equally, if you're a pet owner and you need someone to backfill while you travel, then we can help you find a checked house sitter who can step into your shoes and literally take care of your home and pets, all for the small cost of a membership to our website. So yes, HouseSit Match, that's my business. Thank you.
Lamia, how did you get started in traveling and living abroad? I think it's how can I say this? It has added so much richness to my own life, and I know in meeting you before, you have a story about how you started.
Well, yes, so I think some people have it in their blood, don't they? And certainly, my parents traveled across the world really by necessity and ended up in the UK. And so, from a young age, my parents were taking us with them on their travels. I was studied abroad. I loved to travel as a teenager, and my parents let me do that. So yes, I developed quite early on an absolute love and passion for discovering new locations wherever they happen to be. There's nothing I enjoy more than being dropped somewhere completely new and finding my way around. So yes, it's definitely in my blood, travel.
It's quite thrilling. It's an adventure. I read every single book in my local library by the time I was 14, and I happened on the travels of Marco Polo. So when I was 14, I decided my life plan. I was going to travel, learn another language, fall in love, and learn how to cook and eat exotic foods, and travel as far as I could from my small hometown in Southern California. So by the time I was 19, I figured out a way to get on the airplane. I had a round trip ticket and $200 in my pocket, and I left for Africa for a year. But that started my whole adventurous life in traveling. And I like to share these how-tos with my clients.
Well, that's marvelous. I have to say that's really very adventurous. I suppose in a similar vein, perhaps not quite as adventurous, I bought a bus ticket to go to Athens. And I was 16 with a copy of Lawrence Durrell's letters under my arm to discover Corfu and Greece and all those wonderful Mediterranean places that he'd written about. Mm-hmm. So a bit like you, I was inspired by stories, other people's stories, and I wanted to see these different locations. So yes, I completely concur with that. It is a passion for me also.
Thank you for that. So a lot of people are just stepping into their love of, well, they've been dreaming for a long time and watching documentaries on television or movies set in beautiful locations like Under the Tuscan Sun or A Good Year or Eat, Pray, Love. And so these adventures that we're talking about are ways that you can actually learn how to step into them and have your own story, create your own stories. And it's the one thing. I was talking to my elderly aunt a couple of years ago, 93 years old, and she goes, you know what, SharonAnn, the one thing I do not regret in my life is travel. I traveled. And I think it is a top regret of people who are toward the end of their life that they didn't travel. So we're here to encourage you, step out and have your own adventures. One of the things I know about is we have something like in the UK and the US about, I want to say, or somewhere around 60 million people who own pets. And the biggest challenge a pet owner has when they travel is what do they do with their pets? About 90% of all of the pet owners in America today are intending to travel. So this leaves a huge gap, and this is also happening worldwide, but it leaves a huge gap. What do people do with their pets when they're going to travel? Or likewise with their homes. It's a big problem in the world today. If you leave your home empty, it can be the target of people who just move in. One of my friends who lives in a very ritzy community in north of Seattle came home one day, not my friend, across the street from my friend. So came home one day and their front door key did not work. And so they rang the bell, and there was somebody, a whole family of people who had moved in lock, stock, and barrel during the 2 months that they were gone. And because it was a ritzy area, they were not visible to the neighbors. There were trees and things around that hid the house from the neighbors, so the neighbors didn't know what was going on. No one knew until the owners came back. It's a horrifying situation, and we never want that to happen to any of our clients or anyone we know. Can you just imagine? So if you're intending to travel and live abroad, live your own adventure, and you're going to be gone for 2 or 3 months, how do you protect your home?
Well, that's a really, really good question. And yes, it's house sitters are actually a really good solution, of course. And if you can find affordable house sitters, all the better. And that's one of the things that we try to provide through HouseSit Match. All members are checked on registration to keep the site safe and the relationship safe. And then you can make arrangements with checked house sitters to come to your home and take care of everything according to your agreement. We have template agreements where you can download them from the site and just write all the details of the brief for the sitter. And at the end, you review them and they review you. So it's a handshake at the beginning and at the end, all based on trust.
So Lamia, how much does this cost to bring a house sitter into your home once the people sign up for your platform?
Well, at the moment, the price is only it's about $79 per year for a standard membership, or $99 for a premium membership. And the difference is the size of the profile and your visibility. But the house sitters are for free. So it's an exchange of services. It's part of the sharing economy. So you register and you pay for the registration once a year, but the house sitters are for free.
Now, there are other platforms out there that offer similar services, but not like yours, a boutique service where you personally know your house owners and your sitters. So you connect them knowing the personalities and the likes and wishes of each. But there are other places where you can hire a house sitter and or a pet sitter. What do you think it costs if someone decides to go that route?
Well, it can vary enormously, of course, and it depends what they have to do. So, for example, if you have 3 dogs and you have a large home to clean and there's no cleaner, then the house sitter can do all of that for you. But then there's a cost every time there's a duty to perform. And for every feeding session per dog, usually there's a charge for opening a can of food. So it can add up if you're away for 2 to 3 months. That's the beauty of this kind of arrangement where you come to an agreement, they get to stay in your home for free. That's the deal. They can use your Wi-Fi and so on, because sometimes they're working while they're away. But no money changes hands. At the end of the day, you actually write a review. So that's the deal. You get a review at the end of it. And then from one review, you build others and you build a profile and you get to more interesting places after that.
Yeah, you can actually string together one house sit after another house sit if you know how to do it. And that's one of the things I'll be teaching in my upcoming workshop next week. It's exactly how to do that. And when you do that, it's kind of like a free Airbnb. You don't pay a dime, but you do contribute your work and your caretaking of someone else's home and animals if they have them. One thing that I've noticed that people are generous. The hosts are very generous. They often will cook you a meal and you get to know them personally, which is wonderful. Many times they leave their refrigerator stocked with some basic supplies. Every single place that I've been, and I recently spent a year traveling that way in Europe with my new husband. We went on honeymoon. And one of the things I noticed, people stock the refrigerator with the basic supplies and they give you their car. So it's like you're a trusted friend or family member, and it feels so good to be welcomed into a home, into a community. Very often the host will introduce you to the people around, so you can knock on their door if you have a question or a concern. Many times they will drive you around the neighborhood and show you some of the places, good place to shop, where the groceries, where's the boulangerie, where are you going to get coffee. And I don't know, it's like being welcomed by a best friend you haven't seen in a long time. And it's a wonderful feeling to travel this way.
It really does give you the inside track on that location because this person knows that area better than you'll ever know it. And often I certainly found I've been introduced to people that I would never have met. There was a wonderful chef, a retired chef from Paris living next door to a place I was house sitting in the Normandy area. It was absolutely wonderful. And of course, he'd invite me around to try whatever latest thing he'd created, which was, not a bad thing. But also the owner just showed me a few excavations, archaeological excavations that were underway in the local area that were not yet listed. These things are off the map, but you get the inside track. I really, really enjoy it myself. I love it. I can recommend it highly.
Yes. So a question I often get when people talk to me about traveling this way is they're concerned. They're a little bit afraid because they've never done it before, and they know how to buy an airline ticket and get to their airport destination, but then what? So the concerns they might have are things like they might get lost in a country where they don't speak the language. Or they may not care for the food. Or what else? What else? Maybe they're not good terms with a pet, or maybe the house sitter, the house owner has not told everything. I mean, one very charming couple who brought us in Scotland mentioned after we got there that their old dog needed diapers. It's like we didn't sign up for that, but we were there all the way from the West Coast of the US, and we made the best of it. But these kind of surprises, how do you handle them?
Well, I have to say, we hardly ever get a request to change a diaper on a dog, but it does happen once in a while. We all get old, I guess. But usually I like people to write that kind of information in the brief, and the brief is sent ahead of time, so there are no surprises. I think that's really important.
Oh,
I mean, in fact, we have sometimes, if a dog or a cat is on its last legs and the homeowner puts that in the brief, then the house sitter goes knowing that there may be a crisis and they're ready to deal with it. I think being forewarned is definitely being forearmed. It really does help. So yes, there are some people are worried sometimes about that kind of information, but we prepare a brief, and the brief has lots of questions that might not be relevant, but often are, and they just prepare everybody. I think that's the main thing.
And then one thing we like to do and encourage people to do is when you find a house sit that you're interested in, connect with the owner of the house so you can have a conversation. And we can often now everyone is comfortable with Zoom calls or WhatsApp or FaceTime. So you can face-to-face meet the owners. And sometimes they'll just pick up the phone and walk around their home so you can see what it looks like. So that's very fun. There are techniques, I said strategies for this conversation that you can have because they may be having conversations with other people. But part of the learning of learn to travel and live abroad is understanding the techniques that help you be positioned to be chosen. Some places have a ton of competition. When you see a house sit available, for example, in Hawaii or Panama or the coast of Italy, you may have to face this, that you're not the only one who has applied. I don't think you want to be number 26 on the list because they'll never get to you. But part of the workshop next week, we will be talking about exactly how to strategize so that you're top of mind to house sit that you really want to go to.
I think it's a very, very good idea to make a plan and strategize. With HouseSit Match, we're one of the smaller networks, so you won't be up against 36 other opponents, if you like, for a house sit. Probably you will be up against maybe 2, maybe 9 maximum. But actually, if you write your profile and you write your application in a way that presents your motivations clearly and how you look after the pets in the home, people are often drawn to applications that are clear and full, rich with information about you and your background. So, that's all those points are important when you strategize on how to find the best house sits for yourself.
Yes. So I just have a couple of more things, and then Lamia has an offer for us. I'm so excited about that. And but I want to talk a little bit about the workshop. It's a lunch and learn next Thursday. It'll be March the 28th at noon. And it will last no more than an hour, but you will have a chance to ask some questions. I'm going to talk about things basically to help you build your confidence as you step into this new world of slow travel. It's the most fun thing ever, I have to say. It's kind of like a secret, but actually.
It's liberating. Don't you think it's liberating?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
since that actually your travel budget can go so much further because the accommodation cost is more or less erased for most of it. Obviously, you'll have the odd night here and there in between house sits and so on, but it really does liberate your travel budget.
It does. My husband and I traveled for 300 days in Europe, and we paid for, I think we paid for 6 nights of accommodations that were gaps in between house sits, or where we wanted to go stay a few days, like in Edinburgh, for example. We wanted to stay a few days and explore there, but we didn't have a pet sit. So it also is a decompression time, but in 300 days, we paid for 6 nights. But if you're a traveler and you're going to be paying for, let's say, just 200 days, and you're going to be paying for accommodations at what, $200 a night on average, depending on the city. And I mean, you may not travel as a hostel traveler with a backpack. You're going to want a hotel, a decent hotel, a safe hotel. And we're looking at an average of $200 a night. By the time they add taxes and service fees and all that jazz. Well, 200 nights at $200 is $40,000. So if you're going to travel long-term and live abroad and 200 days, just imagine you're saving the $40,000. Imagine how much farther you could travel with that to go on with. You could travel for years.
Well, that's just the accommodation. Because, yes. I mean, if you are located somewhere, for a period of time, you get to know the local markets. You get to know the best stores to go to. You can cater at home because often there's an up-to-date modern kitchen available for you to use.
Yes.
It's with local produce, which is such fun. It really is fun. And that saves a lot of money on cafes and restaurants and the things you'll be tempted to buy and eat when you're out and about or in a hotel, of course.
Yes. And what we found is that if you rent a car, you're looking at a minimum of $1,000 a month to rent a car. But if the house sit owner gives you their car, that's another savings. So affordable travel and live abroad. We teach it. We want you to do it. We want you to do it the right way. And the fastest way to learn, I think, is to, number one, jump in with Lamia. She'll teach you. And jump in with our travel and live abroad workshop that's starting next week. So we want to show you, I want to show you what documents and services you need to prepare in advance, what insurance is a good idea, how to organize what you leave behind. And that's a big, big project there. And how to think about managing your money while you're gone. What kind of credit cards do you need? What other kind of pesky details do you need to think about? For example, what happens if you need to visit the doctor while you're in Spain? What's likely to happen? What is it going to cost? How will you get that to be handled? How does your own insurance dovetail with that? And then we'll talk about our upcoming masterclass where we'll show you all the details, the ins and outs, and the tiny secrets nobody really knows about. Again, I want to build your confidence so you can step into this new world of travel that you probably never have considered. And Lamia has a great offer for us.
Well, that's right. So if anyone listening to this wants to join HouseSit Match, house sitting platform, we're ready to offer 50% off any membership for your first year of house sitting. And that code, the discount code, is SUPER, SUPER in capital letters, followed by the number 50, SUPER 50, with the letters all in capital letters and no spaces between letters and numbers. And that's for 50% off on HouseSit Match for the first year.
Thank you, Lamia.
It's my pleasure.
Yes. Okay, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you in the meantime at the nearest class on or teaching about or blog or check in. We'd love to have you comment.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you on housesitmatch.com.